Hey guys, welcome to part 1 of creating functional data table in Next.js using Tailwind CSS, Shadcn and API functionality. In this video, we will start by working on the front end part of our project. So what you see here is the front end that we're gonna replicate. We have a blog listing, we have this filter component which will have search filter, we have a option to change the view type. It can be card view or list view. If it is selected as card view, it will be shown as this, but if it is selected as list or table view, it is shown like this. We have a sort by option in which we can click on it, and then we can have all the option like created date, last date, category through which we can sort by. We have a filter component. If we click on it, it will open up a new drawer. So in this video, we will be working on finalizing and creating the filter component or filter heading, I can say of. So this is what we're gonna end up creating in this video. We will have a search bar, we will have a toggle button in which we can go from list to card view. We will have a sort by button, and if you click on it, you will have name, status, created by and created date. So if I click on name, you will see that it is dynamically working. Along with that, we will have a filter button. So if I click on this filter button, it will open the filter drawer for us, and we will have category through which we can select all different type of category that we want to filter through. We have status, and we can apply the filter. Once that has been applied, it will be working as it is. If you have not subscribed to our channel, feel to subscribe so that you don't miss out the playlist of what we're gonna create at the end, and we can get started. To get started with the tutorial, we need to create a Next.js project. So currently I'm on Next.js website. If I click on get started, I will be navigating to this page in which I can go to installation. And if you see, we are currently trying to install Next.js 14. Along with that, we will be using app router. So in Next.js 14, you have two different way of creating an application. Either you can use app router, which is the latest and recommended way, or you can use the older version, which is basis router. So currently we will be using the app router. So if I go into installation, I will see that I have this command. If I copy this command, I can go back to my VS Code terminal, paste this command here. The first thing that it asks me is what is the project name that I will create. So let us name it data table. So it will give few configuration that we need to fill out. So would you like to use TypeScript? Yes. Do you like to use ESLint? Yes. We will be using Tailwind CSS. Yes. Would you like to use source directory? Yes. Yes, we will be using the app router, which is also recommended, and no for the alias. So once the setup has been completed, Next.js will create a folder with the name of the project that you specified. In our case, it will be data table. So if I expand this folder, Next.js will create a few folder structure by default. We have two folders inside of it. One will be public, which will store all the static files and images that we need in our folder. The another will be source, which will encapsulate all the code inside our project. We also have node module, so it is basically the node module folder that we install it from the packagation. Along with that, Next.js also has other files that is created by default. One is Next.js config.ts. We don't have anything here as of now. We also installed Tailwind. So we asked Next.js to install Tailwind, so it created a tailwind.ts file. It has few configuration by default. We can remove it later on in the tutorial while cleaning up the project. But if I go inside the source file, I will have a app folder. The app folder is created because we selected the app router while doing the installation. Inside the app folder, we will see that we have a favicon icon. So favicon icon are the icon that are displayed on the top of the website. So if I go into the Google Chrome, you will see that the icon that is shown next to get started is the favicon icon that is being used. So this is the favicon icon. We can easily customize it. We have a global CSS file, and if you can see, as I mentioned earlier, Tailwind is automatically installed on it because we told it during the installation process. If I go, the other file that we have is layout. In Next.js, layout is basically a wrapper file which will take the children and then render the children inside of it. So layout is like a higher level, higher order component, and it is rendered, and the pages inside of it is being rendered on the layout. So if you can see, layout take children, which is a React node, and then it display the children inside the body tag, and children is where we pass the page.tsx file. So page.tsx is basically a JSX file in which we add any React component, and that will be rendered in slash page for this particular thing. So if I look into running this project, if I go cd data table, I can run this project by using npm run dev command. So if I go to package.json, you will see that I have a dev command. So if I click on that, you will see my project will be running on localhost 3000. If I click on that, you will see that I have a default landing page, which is the default page that Next.js creates for us. And if you see, all the content displayed here is actually coming from pages.tsx file. So get started by editing. So if you see here, get started by editing, and if I edit, make it like test and save it, you will see that get started by test. So pages.tsx is the one that is being rendered on this page. So what we can do is we can clean up this project as a whole. So first thing that I would like to do is I would like to install few extension while getting started with the project. The first one that I recommend is Tailwind. So if you search for Tailwind Incel Intelligence Sense, so basically this will auto fulfill the Tailwind class when I'm writing it. So let's say I start writing. So if you see all this suggestion, this is coming from this extension. The other extension that I would like to use while running the project is ES7 snippet. So this is the extension that I use, ES7 React Redux snippet. What it does, it's provide us a few snippet code that we can use in our code, and it will make our life much more easier that way. Let me show you one of the snippet that I always use. So I want to clean up this pages.tsx file. What I can do is I can just delete everything inside of it, and the extension that I use, the ES7 snippet, it allow me to press something like RACEF. So if I click on this, you will see that it automatically creates a React.js arrow component, and what I can do is I can name it as React table, and let me say hello from React table. So if you can see, this is being rendered on that particular page, but we still see we have some global CSS applied, which is making our background black as of now. So if I go to global.css file, I can remove this body tag because we will be doing some initializing later on in Shadcn, so we don't need this. So if I remove it and save it, you will see that we have a fresh project that we can get started from. Now that we have a clean project, let me tell you how the layout work in Next.js. If you can see, I have a layout.tsx file which is showing the children, and let's say we have a use case in which we have a header and sidebar, and we have multiple pages that can use that header and sidebar. In Next.js, we can easily do that within layout functionality. So what we can do is we can add a div, and let's say this is a header, and inside that, below that, I can say there is a footer component. So if I save this, copy and paste it here in the body, you will see that The header and footer is being rendered from the layout component, and the page.tsx is rendered as a children component. So this is the main functionality of how we can use layout. The other main concept in the Next.js is routing functionality. So how we can create multiple routes that can be used. So let's say currently I only have a slash page. So if I go to something like test, it is redirecting me to 404 page. But you will see that the header is still having that layout. But what if I want to create a test page? How we can do that in Next.js? In Next.js, you can easily create a new page that is added as a routing. So in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to go into the app folder. We need to create a new folder with the name of the routing that we want to create. For instance, so if you want to create slash test, what we need to do is we need to create a folder called test, and in that folder we will also have the similar structure. So we will have pages.tsx and layout.tsx. For now I don't need layout.tsx because we don't have any extra layout inside of it. But if I create a page.tsx file, and using that snippet I create a test page component, and if I say hello from test page, and if I save it, you will see that the slash test page is automatically created. So I'm no longer seeing that 404 error. Instead of that, I'm seeing the test page. So this is how easy it is. So if I go to slash, it is having a react table, and if I go to test, it is having hello from test page. And since I copied that, since and if I go to layout.tsx, you will see that since I added the component like header and footer in the layout file, it is automatically being rendered to all the pages inside. So it is also shown on slash page and also on the test page. So now that we have basic understanding of folder structure in Next.js, how layout work and everything, let's just clean this project for last. So I can remove this header, I can remove this footer. As of now, I don't need the test page. I will just leave it as it is. I can go it on my slash page. I will have hello from React table. The next thing that we need to do in our project is we will be installing a component library called Shadcn. So Shadcn is a component library which is based on React library, and it is being built on top of Radix UI, which is a UI component which, and it is also using Tailwind and TypeScript. So it has gained a lot of functionality during recent year. The major reason behind its functionality or popularity is reusable component. So basically it is not a component library, but it is collection of reusable component. So you don't have to import a large component library in the project. You can just import the component that you need. So in order to get started with Shadcn, what we need to do is I can go in installation page. I will be using Next.js. We already created a Next.js application. I can just go and initialize Shadcn. So if I copy this, I will be using npm, and if I open up terminal, let me clear that. So if I paste that command and press enter, so there are few things that I need to do in as an installation or initialization of Shadcn. I need to answer the question that it is asking. Yes, I will be using TypeScript. For now, I can just stick with default style. I will just go with Slate for now, and I will show you later on how you can customize theme. So currently our global CSS is located on not on app/global CSS, but it is actually inside source/app/globals.css. So I can just type that, Yes, I will be using CSS variables for colors. Just leave it as it is. So you will see that it is asking where is my tailwind config.js is located, but actually I'm using tailwind config.ts, which was automatically created by Next.js. So I won't be using any JS file, but instead I will be using TS file. So in this situation, what I can do is I can press tab, which will add this recommended sentence, and instead of JS I will be replacing it with TS and enter. So at the rate component lis library, yes, I will be using React Server component, and then just proceed. Once Shadcn is installed and initialized in our project, what we can do is let's just start by adding a button. So in Shadcn, you can import any of the component in this way. So let's say I can go into button. I can see that it provide a command called npx add Shadcn UI add button. So if I copy this command using npm and if I paste it on my VS Code, what you will see is it will create a new component and install button component. So the component library which was created earlier, it will have a new folder called UI, and it will have button.tsx. So this is basically installed button inside of it. So now that the button has been installed, I can use it in my project. So if I go to app and paste.tsx and let's say I want to use that button. So if you can see, if I start typing that button, it will automatically show me the suggestion of importing it from component slash UI slash button. So this is the major difference between Shadcn and any other component library, is it is being imported from our code itself, apart from it is being installed or imported from something like button and then and design. So it is in our component, and then we can customize it as we want. So let's say I want to make it say Shadcn button and then save it, run dev, and if I go in my Next.js folder, you will see that we have a nice button from the Shadcn, and by default it has a lot of props that we can use. So let's say we can make it secondary, so I can pass variant, and if you see, it is also tailwind TypeScript protected. So if I pass secondary, it will automatically make my button secondary. I can make it destructive, and it will make it red like alert in something. I can make it outline, and you will see that the outline is added. So this is how you can add component in Shadcn. Shadcn has been initialized and we were able to import a button. What you will see is if I give it a variant, if I do not pass variant, it will by default take the primary variant. You will see that I have different theme that I wanted to show. So it is having this dark slate theme, which is default theme from the Shadcn, but actually I don't want this. And if I go to my Figma file, I will see that I have button with this particular color, which is our primary color. So in order to add this functionality, what we can go is, so if you click on themes on Shadcn, it this website will help you customize your theme for your project. So you have by default theme that is being currently used. The default theme that we have in our project is this theme. If you see, it's too dark, but if you want to use something like red, rose, blue, green, orange, you can easily do that, and then you can just copy your code and paste it into your CSS file. But what we'll be using is, if I click on customize, I will be using this violet color, and you will see that it matches with our Figma file. And if I go here and then click on copy code, and what I need to do is I need to go into my project and go inside the global CSS. You will see that we already have a layer base which is being created by Shadcn, and since we copy the same file, what we can do is we can just replace it with the theme that we copied from. And if I save it, you will see that automatically our theme is being updated to the requested theme that we need. So this is how you can customize the theme in Shadcn, and then this will be automatically used in all the component inside the Shadcn. So if you see, like button in the table, in every places that is possible, like checkbox and everything, so it is quite handy. Now that we have applied the theme that we wanted, the next thing that we need to do is we need to also add some primary and constant thing for Tailwind. So what I would like to usually use is I go to Tailwind config, and by default everything is provided by Shadcn. So if you can see, I will get the primary and secondary and destructive. So moving forward on project, we will be using this variable color, and then automatically apply our primary theme and stuff. So let's say I want to make this color, currently it is black, make this color as a primary color. What I can do is I can just pass the class name, make this so text and primary. So if I save it, you will see that I have this primary color automatically applied inside of it. Now that we have primary color setup and everything initialized from Shadcn, what we can do is now we can get started with UI designing. We have this Figma file that we will be replicating. So you will see that we have blog listing, we have a table component, and then it is inside a page. Let me add that here. So let's say if I make this div, and let me add a h2 which is called blog listing, and then add here blog table. If I save it, you will see that I have this blog listing. What I can do is I can make this flex column, give the padding of 10. So now it has a nice padding on side of it, just like this. I would like to make this blog listing bold. I can use the Tailwind CSS class. I can make this font semi bold, and if I save it, I will have that blog listing. I can give a spacing of y of, I don't need to do that actually. The other thing that I need to do is I can give a margin of 10, and you will see that I have this blog listing and then the blog table inside of it. So now we can start by creating the component for the blog table. So in order to create the blog table component, what I would like to usually use is I create a new folder in the component. I will say it's something like blog table, and then inside that folder I will have all the other component, and along with that I will have an index.tsx which will return the blog table. For now, just make it blog table, and let me import that component here, remove it from here, and then make it blog table. I can just remove this button. We will see that the blog table component is being imported. We can start by starting by this heading of the blog table component. So I would like to create a new folder called filter heading, and this component will be imported here, and then I will have a p tag called block table. If I save it, you will see that I have this filter heading and then the block table, another thing. Let me try to add this background so that this is visible correctly. So if I go to my layout page, I can go to page.tsx and I can just add here bz gray of 100. It will apply this, and I can make this h screen width full so that it occupies whole page. And in the filter heading, what I can do is I can make this block table as class name. I can make it flex column, width will be full, height will be full, and it has a background of white. Let me give it a shadow of medium. You will see I have this, which is this one. Maybe I can decrease the shadow so that it looks a bit better now. Yes. And now we can start by creating this filter header component. First thing that I would like to use is I will create this filter header as a folder because it has other component inside of it like search, switcher, sort by, and filter. So it will make much more easier if we create a folder on the top level. So I can just name it filter heading, and then inside the filter heading I will create an index.tsx file, and I can just remove this, and index will be auto imported. So it's showing some error for now, but it will be fixed. Because it's showing error because I haven't imported anything. So if I just import saying filter heading, the error will be gone, and then I will have this filter heading. The first thing that I can do is I can give it a bit spacing. So if I just give it as flex and then spacing of 4. Okay, this looks a bit better, just like our UI. You will see that it has component which is align center. So in order to do that, there is a property called align center in Tailwind CSS. It will automatically align that filter heading to center in all the component. We have 3 different component and they have equal spacing between them. So in order to add that functionality, let's just create new component. One will be search input.tsx, search input, and the other one will be layout switch.tsx, make it layout switch, and another will be sort by.tsx, make it sort by, and the last would be filters.tsx, and it will also have the filters. And I can import and use all this component here. So I can add initially search input, I can then add layout switch, I can add sort by, and then filters. So if I save it, you will see I have all this component, and these are all in the same line because I'm using flex. Now I need to give them spacing. I can give them justify between. What that will do is it will justify all the component in between, and then now I can start working on each of the component. The first component that we will be creating would be this input box. Since it is an input box, what I need to do is I can go into Shadcn components and I can go to input and I can add input in our project. So I copy this npm, and if I open up my terminal, I can just run this and you'll see that input is being added. So if I go in my search input, what I can do is I can basically import that input from component UI library, and if I save it and try to rerun our application, okay, I already have that search input available here. Since it is a Shadcn library which has TypeScript installed inside of it, it also has other functionality like placeholder. I can just add the placeholder saying search for a blog, save it. The placeholder will be automatically displayed here. Apart from that, what I can do is if I go inside here, I can make this input component a bit dark color, so make it like grayish color. So in order to do that, I will just pass bz gray 50. I hope that works. Okay, that looks just like our UI that we wanted to do, but you will see that it has a big width of it. And if I see the CSS file, I'll say it has 680 pixel. Let's just make this minimum width of, so if I go to Tailwind CSS and then width, I will see that 600 pixel is, let me make it 996 with 96. We don't need 600, it's a bit too much. So if I just make minimum width 96 and then save it, you will see that I have it expanded automatically. But let's say we want to make it 600 pixel. What we can do is, if Tailwind does not have that defined in their theme, I can just add a parenthesis bracket and make it 660 pixel, 360 pixel. I think I need 660 pixel, and if I save it, you will see that it will create that 660 pixel that we needed. So search input is completed. Now that the search input is completed, we can start working on layout switch. If you look into layout switch component, it is two buttons which are attached right next to each other. In Shadcn, what you can do is we can go to button library, and we have already installed this button, and what we can do is we can just use the icon button, and we can use this button right next to each other so that it shows something like this. So let's just go in the layout switch, and if I just remove this, I can add button, and if you see here, if I copy this and then paste it here, I can go to Lucid React and I can search for icon. I will want a tabular icon, so something like list. I will want a list item, which is this, align justify, align Shadcn automatically installs the Lucid React, so I can just import from Lucid React, and the item that I wanted to import was align justify. So if I search for align justify, and if I copy this, update here and save it, you will see that I have that icon here. But the next icon that I would have is tabular or Kanban maybe. Let's make it card. Search for card. No, something like dashboard maybe. Tab. For now we can use this icon. It's a grid icon. I will have another button which will be on the left hand side, and this button will be, if I just copy it here and then paste it here, it will have grid 2x2 icon, and then paste it here and then just apply it. You will see that I can make it a bit different. It's a secondary button. So if I make this variant as a secondary, it will have that functionality. But you will see that it is a bit different here. We don't need to go into that much UI for now, but yeah, I think this is pretty much it. I will just make them a bit small. So yeah, I think that works. If you can see, the size icon is not matching with our icon. So in Shadcn, what I can do is I can go to icon UI and then make it a bit less small. And if I save it, it will automatically update all the code for us, which is quite nice. And I can just make it rounded 0, something like that, and it will not be rounded at all. I would like to make it a bit different. So if it is selected, it will be primary, otherwise it will be like this. So I can switch it between. This is not looking nice. Okay, so in order to make it a bit better, so if you can see, if I want to reduce this lining on the right hand side, I can go into the layout switch. I can just provide my default class, which will be for this, and then border right would be 0. It will just remove the border right. Sorry, what it will do is I will just rounded right none, remove this, and then similarly I can do a class name rounded left none, and it will, yeah, it will have this nice functionality, and there is no round in between, but it has side curve on this way. So this is how you can create it. For now, let us try to add a new state so that we can switch between two icon. It will be called view active view, set active view. We will use state. By default it would be grid, or by default it will be list view. I would have to copy that view here at first, and since we are using the use state here, what we need to do is we need to make it use client and save it, and just replace this here and then copy it and replace it here. so that it is pretty much visible. So what we need to do is we need to add the conditional variant. So if active view equals to list, then it will be default, else it will be outline. And I can just copy this and then go here, and then just instead of making it, I can just make it table, sorry, card, and let me just add it. So it can be either list or card type. And if I save it, and what I need to do is on click, I need to just set active view as this will be list, and then copy that on click again and then make it card. Now that we have this switching functionality which matches with our UI, it's a bit different, but it's pretty much similar that we need to do, and the functionality is working, which is nice. For now, what I saw that the layout for the search bar and other component is not looking nice in our filter heading, so I would like to make some change on that one. So first thing that I would like to make is I will want this search input to be around full width, so I don't need justify here, so it will be half of width. And then I will have another div which would be another flex, so just by look of it, it will be flex, and then items center, and then similarly it will have another flex with item center. So what it will do is it will make my search for blog as a half of the whole thing, and this one will have justify between, and it will have width full, and it will also have width full. I can remove the width from this one permanently, and I'll just make it width full and also make this width full. So you will see that I have this width full on this, and maybe I can make it like width 2 by 3, and this will be 1 by 3. Yeah, so it will cover around 75% or around 66% of total width, and then we will have another part. And in this one, even though the items are this, what I would like to do is I would like to not make it justify between, but actually justify end, so that everything is sorted at end. But I would like to make a space of 5 pixels between elements. So now this is looking much better. Now what I can do is I can just make this also full, then make this also full. So you will see that I have a half search bar and everything other is sorted out here. Now that we have fixed our layout and it is looking nice, what we can do is we can start by working on sort by. So in order to work on sort by component, we see that a search by is a component which will open a menu in which we can select what we need to sort by. In Shadcn, we already have a component called drop down menu, and inside the drop down menu we will be using something called radio checkbox. So if I click on it, you will see that it will have the checkbox that I can select from. So if I just copy the code for it and then paste it on sort by, what I need to do is I need to install this initially. If I copy this and if I paste it here, I need to install this. If I save it, I can just name it sort by. It's a function sort by which is returning a JSX, and I can just default it by sort by. And if I just run this function, so it has this functionality. There are few things that I need to sort it by. One would be created date. I can just make this dynamic. Let's just start by doing that so that it will be easier for later on. I can just make an item array. One will have label called created date, and then value would be created at, something like this. It depends on what are the value in the database table. The other one will be label created by, and again the value will be created by. And the next one that I would like to look is category and value would be category underscore ID. The next one would be, if I just go here and then copy, the first one will be name, and then value will also be name. So now that I have this array, instead of making component re-rendering, I can just map through that array. So I can just items.map item, then I can return this React component, and since we are doing mapping, we need to pass the key. Key would be item.value and make this dynamic. So item.value and then item.label, and if I just save it, you'll see that this has all the functionality that we need and stuff. The best part of it is if we add a new items, let's say sort by status, so it can easily be added without any component creation and stuff, and it will be much more easier to re-render it. So I can just make it status and then save it. You will see that it already added a new one. Let me make a bit more change here. So it would be sort table by, just, yeah, it would be something like this, and I just update this label, and I will have something called sort by, set sort by, use state, and by default it will be nothing, and then this would be sort by on change, then set sort by. If I just save it, by default it will have nothing, but I can just name and everything would be displayed there. what I need to do is I need to make this, so I need to change the trigger that is causing this button. So what I can do is I need to just create a new div, and inside of it I will need to no, inside the trigger what I need to do is I need to make a new div, and it will have class name as flex, and I will have a p called sort by, and the next thing that I would have is this is like an p along with a drop down to it. The easy way I can just establish that is using a button, so I can just create an outline button along with icon. So I can just copy this and then paste it here. Sort by would be, it will have the item start find item where item dot value equals to sort by, then I will display the label of it. So initially it will not be anything, it will be created by let me just, initially it would be like created at, and then save it. We make this items center. Yeah, I need to make it size small, and then also make this class name text sm. Give it a space x of 1, and then what I can do is I can make this, actually I can make it as a ghost, which will be a bit easier to display. So if I make this as a ghost, I will have this, which is a bit better, and I can just give this text primary font semi-bold to make it look like our UI. So if you see, it's shown here. And the next thing that we can do is, I think this looks good. Maybe we need to add an icon. So if I go here, I will see that I can just add an icon left or right to it. If I go here and I add an icon here, it will be a shoved down icon. Just give this a margin left, and yeah, this looks nice. It does not look as the UI that we want to create it, but that's not the whole point of this tutorial. As of now, it is more sort of understanding how everything works. So yeah, this looks nice of what we have created. I can just remove this sort by, actually it does not look much better. Yeah, it can have these things inside of it. Yeah, it looks a bit nicer now. I can make this, let's see, primary, how it looks. Default, does it look a bit better? I can just remove this text primary. Okay, this looks a bit nicer. I can just rename it by sort by this and then get that sort by here. Yeah, this looks a bit nicer now actually. And I can just, in order to make this a bit less, so if you go into the button, the small size has height 9. I can make it height 5 maybe, so that it would be a bit small. If I go into the sort by, I think I am good making it ghost and then adding back the text primary. Okay, we just update it on the same line. Okay, this looks a bit better. So that link, yeah, I think this looks nice. No, just stick with ghost for now. Yeah, I think we are good with this. So if I refresh the page, by default it is created date. We can sort it later on. Let's just make this font bold so that I can see it, or maybe semi bold. Yeah, that completes our thing that we need to do. I can just paste it inside here so that it does not trigger whenever I click on sort by and it's outside. So it will be, yeah, just this clickable, which is a nice thing. I think the button as a whole does not look nice. So what I'm thinking is I will just make this as a p tag. It would be a p tag with a bold, and it will have this label inside of it, and it would be in div tag with class as flex item center space x2, and make this text, just copy this css and then paste it here, and then if I copy this and then paste it down, if I remove this, this looks a bit better. And then what I can do is I can just give it cursor as a pointer so that when I click on this, it will have this functionality, which is a bit like the UI that we have. I can just remove the semi bold from here in the sort by, and then yeah, we have this completed. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to create a filter button, and when we click on filter button, it will open the filter drop down from there. So for that, I can just create a new button. I can go into filters, and I think the first thing that I would like to do is I will just create a new folder called filters, and it will have that index.tsx inside of it, and I will just return filters from here, and I can just remove this. It will give me an error. I don't think so. If I go here and I refresh it, does it give any error? Okay, that's less filters. Save it. Yeah, we can see that filter is a button on the top level. It's kind of like a outline button, so I can just copy the code for this, or I can make this as an icon button. So if I just copy this and go inside the filters, I can just paste it here, import the button from Shadcn component. We need to search for filter icon. I like this one. It's called slider horizontal. So if I just imported slider horizontal from Lucid React, I can just copy this and paste it here. And filters, if I save it, it will have this. Make this variant as primary or outline. Yeah, I think this looks good. Or maybe make it as secondary. I don't know how it looks. I think secondary looks a bit like what we have, but I think I will stick with outline. And it is on the right side, so I can just copy this, paste it from here, and it will have a margin left of 2 pixels. So what I need to do is, when I click on this filter, I need to open a drop down, or sorry, a drawer. So in order to do that, I have a component in Shadcn called sheet. So if you see, this is what we need. So what I need to do is I need to install this component or add this component in our project. And if I go into the code, I can just copy this and I can just make a new component called filter drawer.tsx, and I can paste it here. I can just make this filter drawer, okay, and export constant filter drawer, export, I guess just make it default. And the next thing that we need to do is we need to install the label. So I can go on label, add the label using npm. Now I can just go here and copy this component and paste it here in the button, and I can import this from Lucid React. So what I can see is, if I import this, instead of this, I can just import filter drawer component, and then I don't need this. Everything is being imported inside this component. If I run it again, you will see that we have this nice drawer that we can use. Now that we have drawer component created for the filter, so basically we can just click on filter and it will open this drawer component. We can start by creating the UI for this drawer component. The first thing that I would like to edit is the data that is being shown here. Filters, you can apply filters from this drawer and data will automatically be updated. So this we will have 3 different type of filter that we will be using. One will be status, the another will be category, and the last would be tag. So in Shadcn we have something called select, and we will be using this in order to add all the filter functionality. So if I go here, if I just copy the code for the select, I don't think I need this much of code. Yeah, I think just this is fine. What I need to do is I need to create a form component in Shadcn. So in order to get started with that, I can click on form component. Shadcn recommend us to use React hook form and Zord in order to use the form component. So we can do installation npm I react hook form and npm I Zord. So the next thing that I would like to do is I would like to create a new component called filters form.tsx and filters form, and then everything inside of it I will just do this, and I will not need any grid, I will not need anything. I will just use the filters form component here, and then I will just npm run dev it. I can just, if I refresh the page, I will have a separate component with that on here, which is nice. In this, what we can do is so Shadcn basically recommends us to create the input field and then use it later on. So let me show you how you can do it. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to add the form. I can copy here and then paste it here. I can go to filters form. Yes, I would like to use client. What we can do is, since we have installed Zord, we can just import Zord, and then we can create a schema for it. In our project, what we will have is we will have schema, but we will not have any requirement onto it because we don't need anything, they can just simply not select anything and then apply filter. That should work for them. And what they recommend is they just ask you to create this chart and just don't say anything. So we don't need to make anything. Just what we will have is we will have a status, and then it would be string. The next thing that we will have will be category z.string, and the last thing would be tags z.array, and then I can just pass z.string inside this array. So basically it will create an array with that particular string. I can make this optional dot optional, and then again dot optional. We don't need any such thing from here. The next thing that Shadcn recommend is importing the React hook form and creating form out of it. So I can just do this, and what will be my default value would be status of nothing, and category will also be nothing, and then tags would be an array of nothing. I will have a console log for submit, and then it recommends us to create that. So if I copy this and if I paste it here, I'm just following the library, and if I copy this and then just paste it here, and just name it as category. And then if I just try to run npm run dev, let's see how it is being shown on select. So if I go into that page, if I refresh it, okay, but the first thing that I would like to use is I would just like to use in div at the top level, and it will have class name and padding will be 5 padding y, so that it has a bit spacing at the top. I can remove the save change button from here, but I don't need that for now. I just remove the submit from here. Yeah, I can just pass the form name later on. I can just make it category, and I don't need any description. So if I go to Shadcn and select, you would see that in order to add a select component, I need a select component on here imported from select. I need to add, so I need to run this command to add that select component. And then in the form, I can just render it out this way. So if I copy this, and instead of input, I can just use that, and then I don't need to use import at all for now. And also the button, remove the form description, and if I go here, if I refresh this, I will have this beautiful drop down for category. I think there are a few things that I can do with this drop down, but yeah, I think what I would like to do is I would, if this was a bit intense project, I would have divided into multiple drop down. What I mean by that is I can just create a new drop down for category drop down.tsx, and inside this category drop down I will have this form field fully. So I can just copy this and then paste it here. I need to just import it from UI library, okay, which is nice. I need to do all missing import. I do not mean to do it from Radix UI. I'll just copy this and then paste it here, and yeah, I think the only thing that is remaining is I need to use that form and pass it in that category. I need to just pass form, and then form would be of this type. Use form, use form. Okay, I don't think that's a type, but this is the type, z.info, and then I need to import this zod on here at the top level, and I need to copy paste that form schema from here, and then I can just copy paste it here. Or I can just make it React hook form. What is this type? Use form return, and then the type is this. Okay, so I can just copy this. I can just copy this type and then paste it here. Use form return as from use React form, and I would have this. Save it here. I think that's the thing that we need to do. And yeah, so what it will allow us is later on, let's say it's a scalable project and we have every category stored in database and stuff, we can fetch categories from database and then render that categories later on. For now, for the testing purpose, let's just not do that. Let's just add a category 1, 2, 3, category 3, and then category 2. So now we have that created here. I just need to import it on this one. So I just import that category drop down. On that I need to pass the form and then just save it. Okay, so this is the thing that I was looking at. I'll just update it to select category. Similarly, I can just create a new status drop down .tsx and then copy it here. Status drop down, it will use all this thing. Apart from that, it will use status, name will be status, and select status. We will have pub list and draft published, and then just save it, and I can import that in here. Status drop down form. You'll see that it has this. I think it has a lot of spacing inside of it. We don't need that. Make it 3. Now it looks much better with this drop down and stuff. We have all the UI updated for it. I think the last thing that we need to do is, if you look into our component structure, how it is being, so the filter drawer have filters form inside the seat content, but the seat footer which contain the button is outside. So in order to resolve the issue currently that we are having is, when I click on save changes, it does not do anything here. So instead of that, what I need to do is I need to go into filter form. I need to pass an ID for the form, which is called filter form, and in the drawer where we are doing the save changes, let me update it to apply filters. So okay, that has been changed successfully. I can pass a form with the same string, which is called filter form. So this should match essentially with the form ID here. And what it will do is whenever I click on this submit button, it will trigger that specific form instead of triggering other form. So now I can see that if I click on this, it is showing this, but the header is hiding. So in order to tackle that, I can just is open, set is opened, would be use state to be false initially. If we are using the use state, we need to add the use client, and I can just pass is open, is open, and yeah, just don't set it as it is for now. It is just, I think, close, on, close. So now what you will see that if I go here, I need to, when I click on this button, I need to do the on click and then set is open to true. I need to make this is opened and is open. I don't need to pass that. So if I click on this, it will open this, and let's say I selected this and then apply filter, you will see that even the console log is happening with the form, but it is not closing this, and it is also not closing with clicking that. So in order to adjust that, I think I need to look into the props for documentation. If I expand the code, dialog trigger, dialog root, open, this force mount, change, I think on open change, is it something function? What does it give? Props. Let's just see what it gives. So if I go here and if I see the console log that we have, so if I click on this, it will give false. So I just can apply the state, make it state, and then set is open to state, and or make it like v and save it as v. So now if I click on this, this is working, and if I click on this and select any category, make it published, apply filter, I think this is working.